Brittany Tank. My name is Nye McGee with EURweb.com. Thank you for giving me your time today to speak about all the wonderful things you ladies are doing as it relates to the Hip Hop Caucus and just your own advocacy work, right, for our community. The organization's work kind of sits right at the intersection of entertainment, policy, and justice. So, how are you telling stories that cut through the noise and truly connect with the people?
Thanks for the question. We have a multi-pronged storytelling strategy. And much like our advocacy theme is from the streets to the suites, our storytelling theme is from the front lines to the film. And so, what that means is that we have a podcast, The Coolest Show, which is Black people centered, Black people hosted, that talks about climate. We have a radio show that airs on Fridays on WPFW, Pacifica station out of DC, called Climate Fridays. We have all of our, social media. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, Blue Sky. You can find us all the places. But then we also have our caucus productions. And so we recently wrapped up a film festival run with a film called Underwater Projects. And that film focuses on the coastal flooding around the Virginia area, and makes the connection to, what we saw happen in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. And that is voiced by Wanda Sykes. So making sure that we are connected with artists and entertainers who Wanda is from Virginia, and so we have an approach in which when we work with people and the issues that we're working on, those people are local to that. Um, so that, when outsiders or insiders start to watch or consume whatever we're putting out, that they can relate to the people who they're where they're from. And that's pretty much just, our approach to just to be wherever you can consume media in all the ways that media is consumed, we have a presence there, and that we're working with particularly Black and Brown people who are either close to the issue, experiencing the issue, or from the location where these issues are happening.
So, Tank, as an artist, what does it mean to you to use your voice to uplift issues like environmental issues? And how has your partnership with the Hip Hop Caucus changed the way you think about activism?
I think it's just so natural for me to speak on things that I see every day, which is, housing inequalities in New Orleans, or see that the way the storm has affected my family, my friends, my community, and my everyday way of life. So it's really become just such a stepping stool for me to sit on and just to honestly sit down like a New Orleans woman on her porch observing what's going on in my community and literally just writing about it. The fact that it happens to touch people along the way and invoke change in them in thought, that's great as well. And I guess probably really the God-given point of it all. Um, and now that I'm with the Hip Hop Caucus, it's definitely made me re-examine, look at my life and look at myself and what it truly means to probably be an environmentalist or someone that just thinks about the everyday effects of my choices and how it affect the world and myself around me. I'm thinking about it even more today. Honestly, even more on this call. So thank you. That was a good question.
Well, here's a follow-up question for you, Tank. As you both have mentioned, Hurricane Katrina and New Orleans, I mean, the Hip Hop Caucus is mobilizing for the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And that kind of blows me away. Has it been 20 years? That's wild. Seems like it was just yesterday, right? And clearly
Definitely.
that event has forever changed the way we talk about race, disaster, and justice in America, especially justice for Black Americans. So, Tank, what lessons from Katrina, in your opinion, still ring loudest in your work today?
Oh my goodness, it's so hard to even just pinpoint out some things. I guess always people like us think about having literally a Katrina fund, a storm fund. Like you need to put something to the side in case a storm hit, things like that, and how you're gonna travel, where you're gonna go. Everybody, we'll just be sitting in the car having us a good time, and somebody would just say, "Where would y'all go if a storm hit?"
Mm.
Knowing that the storm is always right around the corner for us, knowing that hurricane season is a scary thing for us, is an anxiety built thing inside of us, and and we always hoping that it's not the big one that's going to wash us away again. So we talk literally post Katrina and pre Katrina in our conversation. Remember that before the storm? Remember when we used to go over that before the storm? It's literally changed our entire language. So it's changed us forever. If that's the question, we've been changed forever.
Right on. Why is it important to bring Black cultural leadership into climate conversations that, seemingly have long eluded us, excluded us from these conversations?
Yeah, I'll preface that I'm from Mississippi. And from being from Mississippi, I've always seen Black leaders lead civil rights fights throughout the generations. You can trace, you can start at Fannie Lou Hamer, you can go to Derrick Johnson over NAACP now. There's just a long history of us being in front. And so for me, being able to be employed by the Hip Hop Caucus, who shares those same values and understands that it is always us that is fighting for us, and that we don't need saviors. We've never needed saviors, and that nobody can fight on our behalf, can advocate on behalf like we can. There are cultural things that we as Black people, the way that we do them, and those cultural things we know are effective for change. And so, when we have other people trying to lead our fights, we don't get very far. And uh, so that's why that honestly, that's why it's important because we have the cultural competence to know what we need and how to get done what we need to get done.
So, a follow-up question for you. What does cultural organizing mean to you, and how does it transform who gets to lead and who gets to be heard in this movement?
Cultural organizers for us by us. Um, in a nutshell. It's making sure that, from nuts to bolts and all of the planning, the strategy, the execution, that, Black folks are involved, and that we are connecting with, again, our communities in the way that we know how to connect, to bring about change. And, a lot of that is relationship building. Black folks are relationship oriented people. We are not the folks who culturally are here just to take something for you for our own personal gain. That's why we have it takes a village to raise, to raise a family. It takes a village to do this and to do that. It's why, when you go into an urban area or a rural area, you see people congregated on the porch, you see people congregated at the store, you see people, congregated in these different places because we are village people rooted in community. And that's how organizing has to be. And that's something that we understand in a way folks who are culturally takers don't understand.
Hollywood has a history of either ignoring or kind of like watering down or flattening social justice narratives, right? So from your view, what would it look like for the entertainment industry to truly honor movements without watering them down?
Mm. I'm trying to think about what I would like to see and what would impact me. I don't know. It will probably have to start off probably like even in New Orleans with a beautiful day and talking about we're going to have a hurricane party the way we did before the storm hit, and everybody was getting a barbecue together and thinking that this was going to be any old other storm, like any old other day, and it was going to pass by. And my aunts that stayed for the storm, they hear a big boom. Nobody knows if it's a bomb or the levee's breaking and water just coming around the stop sign and getting higher and higher. I think that it would have to connect with a story that I know that's true. Soon as that thing say based on a true story, I'm probably already locked in. And the fact that it's one that I know and it's from New Orleans and it's literally about, how something as small as staying for a typical regular storm and how it can truly change your entire life. was something that probably could have been avoided. I think that's how a story, Hollywood way, would connect to me in a home type way.
Yeah, and
Brittany.
I'll actually just piggyback off of what Tank said, and I think that having authentic representation in stories, I'll keep talking about how when we go into a community and we're organizing, we're mobilizing, we are supporting. We let that community lead because those are the people who know, how to tell that story, who knows what the different, power dynamics are, what the different politics are that are very, local. They know that more than we would know that. And so Hollywood can use that same model when they're talking about, if they're talking about a story that Sinners just did this very well, bringing in, these cultural advisors when you have certain characters. If you're going to do something fictional, if you're going to do based on a true story, hiring somebody who is from that place to play that part. But I think also something that Tank mentioned, she talked about the hurricane party. And I think that what Hollywood could also do, and we're seeing a small shift in this, is find the comedy, the joy in some of these stories instead of the doom and gloom in some of these stories. Because there is a lot to celebrate around survival. There's a lot to celebrate around preparation. Um,
Mm.
and there's a lot to celebrate, I think, in a refusal to let something permanently just displace you, right? And saying that I'm going to go back home and I'm going to rebuild and I'm going to go where I know the culture receives me and it's a culture that I love. I think
And the
that
food gonna be good, huh? Yep, that
the
too,
food
hungry.
gonna be good. The worst food in New Orleans is still good. That is one thing that's a fact.
Brittany, what does it mean for you, right, to reclaim space in climate conversations as a Black woman? And how is that reclaiming happening through your work?
It's so interesting to put it as a reclaiming space when I feel like I'm literally in the process of like literally now reclaiming it. Um, because I've always written about it, but even if it was only for my ears to hear, and I always felt heard because I gathered my family around to hear the poems that I wrote about what was going on in our lives and how you know the storm had affected all of us, or anything for that matter, just being Black was affecting us. Um, so it doesn't necessarily really just feel like a reclaiming thing when it's something just as normal as breathing. I just feel like now I'm actually on the phone with somebody literally asking me about how does it feel to basically honestly be who you are, to be who you've always been, and not have a voice about it. It makes me feel like I want to do more, and I want to consciously do more so that my efforts, like putting music out there that talks about what's going on within the world, of more things within my community, and just putting my own stamp on it and making it even bigger than I thought it was, because now I'll look forward to making it even more intentionally bigger, so that others could grab onto it. Because before it's just so natural, but to do it a little bit more intentionally, I think that's when you can ask me that question again. And I'll have it even more. Well, I feel like this because now I know that my voice is the power to do this, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So just give me a second. Give me another yeah.
Yeah, I agree that I don't think that it's a reclaiming. I come from a lineage of Black farmers. I have a Black farm in Mississippi that I co-own with my father. And there are things that he taught me that my grandfather taught me that I didn't connect with this being anything, sustainable or climate related or any of that. And it wasn't until I really started working with the Hip Hop Caucus where then I started to put, terminology to something we've always been doing. just like Tank was saying. And so I think doing this work and being in so many various spaces, being in a space like Hollywood Climate Summit, being at New York City Climate Week, being in a lot of predominantly white spaces where they do a really good job of um, of 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 promoting their actions, right? And making it marketable, and then turn it into something that's profitable. We just be living our lives, doing the things that that our folks taught us how to do, and not having the language for it. And so I think it's just that, and being fortunate to now be within an organization where we can help other people see that no, what you've been doing has been climate related, it's been sustainable, it's been eco conscious or eco-friendly. And then now trying to have us like change our behaviors to implement them more because it's just gonna help us live longer.
Right
Yeah.
on. What message do you have for young creatives who want to use their gifts for something bigger, especially, advocating in the way you both are using your platforms to do?
I say, and just going on the internet, obviously, and reading about what you think is important or special, and writing it down, and thinking about the ways that in which certain things that are important to you connect to you, and how you can make it like bigger, like if you like hip hop, and writing like literally a song about something that's important to you, and these days uploading it. But I'm the old fashioned way. I used to go around to people barber shops. I used to be at the open mic nights. I used to be walking the streets, like trying to get my art out there. So I honestly feel like they have an easier way to get their art out there. But don't be afraid to walk the streets and go in somebody's barber shop and say, "Can I sing you a song?" or "Can I share some information with you?" It's boots to ground and grassroots type way. The way me and my band started was a way that we got ourselves out there because the internet was not as popular. So I just say, just find something that you're passionate about and dive in, just dive into something that you feel really strongly about. And once you do that, you really won't too much work a day in your life because you'll be doing something that you really love.
All I add is just to piggyback and just start and just continue to create. Um, yeah, you'll be able to look back over the years to see how things have improved, how you changed things, but you got to start and you just got to keep creating.